My friends, when we speak of love, we often think of warmth, affection, or the tender moments that stir our hearts. But I want to tell you today, love is far more than a fleeting feeling. Love is the very breath of heaven breathed into the human soul. It is the foundation upon which every great life is built, the compass that directs our steps when the path grows dim, and the force that binds us together when the world tries to pull us apart. Love is not merely an emotion. It is a divine command and a daily decision. To understand this truth, we must first recognize that love, in its truest form, does not begin with us. It begins with God. From the very first breath of creation, love was the language of heaven spoken into existence by the one who is love itself. When we look at love only as a feeling, we reduce something eternal to something temporary. Feelings rise and fall, shift with seasons, and fade with time. But love, as God intended it, stands firm. It is steadfast in the face of trials, unshaken by disappointment, and alive even in the darkest valley. There are moments in life when love feels effortless, when joy fills our hearts, when kindness is returned, when the people around us are easy to embrace. But there are also days when love feels like a burden, when those we care for wound us, when forgiveness seems beyond reach, and when the effort to keep caring feels too heavy to bear. It is in these moments that love reveals its true nature, not as an emotion to be felt, but as a choice to be made. Every sunrise brings a new opportunity to decide, will we live by feeling or will we live by faith? Love that depends on emotion will always waver, but love that is anchored in obedience endures. When Christ called us to love one another, He did not make it conditional. He did not say, love when it's easy or love when it feels good. He said, love one another as I have loved you. That kind of love is not passive. It is active, deliberate, and sacrificial. It means choosing grace when anger feels justified, choosing patience when irritation takes hold, and choosing compassion when indifference seems simpler. To live out this command, we must first surrender the illusion that love comes naturally. Our human nature leans towards self-preservation, not self-giving. We are quick to defend, slow to forgive, and hesitant to extend mercy. Yet divine love calls us beyond ourselves. It asks us to step out of comfort and into commitment. Love becomes a daily discipline, a holy practice that shapes our character and molds our hearts to reflect God's own. Every act of love, no matter how small, is a decision that echoes eternity. When we choose to speak kindly instead of harshly, to listen instead of judge, or to help instead of ignore, we are fulfilling the divine command that gives meaning to our existence. The decision to love becomes an offering, a reflection of God's heart through human hands. In every encounter, we have the chance to mirror the love that has been so freely given to us. This understanding transforms how we view relationships, challenges, and even ourselves. When love is seen as a command, we stop asking whether others deserve it and start asking how we can give it. When it becomes a decision, we stop waiting for the right feeling and start acting from the right conviction. The power of such love lies not in emotion but in endurance. It stands firm through misunderstanding, persists through rejection, and continues through pain. It is the kind of love that rebuilds what was broken and brings light where darkness once dwelled. In the quiet moments of reflection, we often realize that love costs something. It demands humility, forgiveness, and at times sacrifice. But it is through this cost that love becomes holy. When we choose love even when it hurts, we participate in the divine rhythm of grace, the same rhythm that beats in the heart of God Himself. Love may not always feel natural, but it always bears fruit. It softens hardened hearts, mends what bitterness has torn apart, and brings peace where resentment once ruled. Each day, the decision to love stands before us. It may come as a whisper in the middle of conflict, a nudge to forgive when we want to withdraw, or a call to show kindness to someone who has shown none to us. In these choices, love becomes more than a command. It becomes the evidence of God at work within us. True love is revealed in action, not in sentiment. It is easy to speak of love, to express it in words, or to feel it in fleeting moments of emotion. But love that remains only within the realm of feeling is incomplete. Words of affection, though comforting, mean little without the weight of action to give them truth. Real love demands something of us. It calls for motion, for effort, for sacrifice. Love, in its purest form, is not measured by what we say, but by what we do. It is the difference between speaking kindness and living it, between promising care and proving it. Throughout life, we encounter countless opportunities to demonstrate love through action. Sometimes it looks like offering a helping hand to someone who cannot repay us. Other times, it takes the shape of patience in the face of irritation, or compassion when judgment feels easier. Love is not passive, it moves toward need. It steps into brokenness, into pain, and into the messiness of life with a heart willing to serve. When we love in action, we do more than express emotion. We embody grace. We become living evidence of the power of love to change circumstances, relationships, and even hearts. The beauty of love in action is that it reflects the very nature of God, who did not merely declare his love from heaven, but demonstrated it through sacrifice. Love is not proved in comfort, but in commitment. When we show love through our deeds, we echo that divine example. We step beyond ourselves and begin to live for something greater. Words may inspire, but it is action that transforms. It is in the act of serving, forgiving, and giving that love finds its fullest expression. Often, we find ourselves in moments where love costs us something, a measure of pride, convenience, or time. It is easy to claim love when life is smooth, when people are kind, and when gratitude is returned. But true love reveals itself most clearly when there is nothing to gain. To love when it is difficult, when the other person does not understand, or when our efforts go unnoticed. That is the love that mirrors eternity. Every act of selfless giving becomes a testimony of a heart that values obedience over recognition. We live in a world filled with grand declarations of love, but short on demonstration. People are quick to promise devotion, yet hesitant to show up when the cost becomes high. The world does not need more words about love. It needs more people willing to live it out. True love is not proven in public display, but in quiet faithfulness. It shows itself in the unseen acts of service, in the prayers whispered for others, in the forgiveness extended when it's least deserved. These moments, though small in appearance, carry eternal significance. There are times when acting in love feels like an uphill climb. It asks us to give when we feel empty, to hope when we've been disappointed, and to trust when fear tries to take over. Yet it is precisely in these moments that love grows strongest. Every act of love is a seed planted in the soil of eternity. Though its fruit may not appear immediately, its roots deepen with every choice to act in faith. The consistency of love, day by day, deed by deed, is what builds a life that truly matters. When love is active, it has the power to heal and to restore. A kind gesture can soften a hardened heart. A word spoken in gentleness can lift a weary spirit. A simple act of forgiveness can break the chains of bitterness that have bound someone for years. Love expressed in action has a reach far beyond what we can see. It moves like ripples across water, touching lives we may never know. That is the mystery and beauty of love lived out. It multiplies in ways words alone never could. Love in action also transforms the one who gives it. Each time we choose to love, we chip away at selfishness and pride. We become more patient, more compassionate, more like the one who first loved us. The more we live out love, the more it becomes our nature. It shifts from being a duty to a delight, from an obligation to an overflow. True love, then, is not a performance, it is a way of life. It is seen not in the grand moments, but in the quiet faithfulness of a heart that continues to give, to serve, and to care even when no one is watching. A life rooted in love reflects the very heart of God. Love is not simply one of His attributes, it is His very essence. Everything He does flows from love, His mercy, His justice, His patience, and His grace. When we choose to root our lives in love, we align ourselves with the character of God Himself. It is not an abstract ideal or a lofty moral standard, but a divine invitation to live as reflections of His nature in a world desperate to see what real love looks like. Love is the soil in which faith grows, the foundation upon which all spiritual fruit is built, and the light that guides our interactions with others. When love becomes the root, everything else in life takes its proper place. To be rooted in love means to draw strength, stability, and nourishment from it. Just as a tree draws life from its roots, so must we draw our life from the love of God. Without those roots, we are easily shaken by the storms of life. Anger, bitterness, fear, and pride can quickly uproot a heart that is not anchored in love. But when love is our root, our responses change. We forgive more easily because we have been forgiven deeply. We show patience because we know how patient God has been with us. We extend kindness not because others deserve it, but because we understand how freely it was given to us. A life rooted in love stands firm when others falter. It does not wither under pressure or lose its compassion in hardship. Love becomes the guiding force behind our choices, shaping the way we treat others and the way we see ourselves. When love is at the center, life no longer revolves around personal gain or recognition. It begins to revolve around the good of others and the glory of God. We become less concerned with being right and more concerned with being righteous, less eager to be served and more eager to serve. Such a life carries the fragrance of heaven, touching hearts not through words alone, but through the quiet consistency of love lived out. The heart of God is always outward, reaching. His love moves toward the lost, the lonely, the broken, and the undeserving. To live a life rooted in love is to carry that same heart into the world. It means stepping beyond comfort zones, reaching across divisions, and extending compassion where others might withhold it. This kind of love cannot coexist with selfish ambition or prejudice. It calls us higher, stretches us wider, and deepens our capacity for grace. When we love in this way, we reveal something divine to those around us, a glimpse of the eternal in the midst of the ordinary. Rooting our lives in love also changes how we endure suffering. Pain and disappointment will come, but love gives meaning even to those moments. Love keeps us tender when life tries to make us bitter. It helps us see purpose in the midst of pain, understanding that every trial can draw us closer to the heart of God if we let it. Love gives us the strength to keep giving, even when we feel empty, and the courage to keep believing, even when hope seems faint. It reminds us that no act of love, no matter how small, is ever wasted. When love becomes the root, it produces fruit, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and faithfulness. These qualities do not appear by striving, but by abiding. A life rooted in love is not lived in hurried striving, but in steady devotion. It finds its rhythm in grace, its stability in faith, and its beauty in compassion. Others may not always understand such a life, but they will feel its presence. Love has a way of leaving traces. It softens hearts, restores relationships, and lights the way for others to follow. To live this way is to bear witness to who God is. It is to walk in such a manner that when people encounter us, they sense something beyond our personality or kindness. They sense the presence of divine love flowing through us. It is not perfection that reveals God's heart, but love. When our words, our actions, and even our silence are rooted in love, we become mirrors reflecting His nature into a world that has forgotten what love looks like. A life anchored in love is not loud, but it is luminous. It does not seek applause, but it leaves an imprint that time cannot erase, because it springs from the eternal heart of God Himself. Love transforms ordinary living into extraordinary purpose. Every human being wakes up each day surrounded by routines, responsibilities, and countless small moments that can easily blend together into something that feels ordinary. But love has the power to breathe meaning into the mundane, to take what seems insignificant and turn it into something sacred. It changes not only what we do, but why we do it. Without love, even great achievements feel empty. With love, even the smallest gesture becomes an act of eternal significance. Love transforms how we see life, how we treat others, and how we understand our place in the world. When love is at the center of our lives, everything we do gains depth. Work is no longer just about earning a living. It becomes a way to serve and bless others. Family is no longer just about shared obligations. It becomes a daily opportunity to nurture, forgive, and grow. Friendships become more than social connections. They become sacred partnerships in the journey of faith. Love takes the ordinary spaces of our lives and fills them with divine purpose. A kind word, a patient response, a listening ear. Each act of love, though simple, carries eternal weight. It touches hearts in ways that words alone never could. Love gives us reason to rise above the trivial. In a world that often values success over sincerity and comfort over compassion, love calls us to something higher. It teaches us that greatness is not found in status or wealth, but in service. When love governs our actions, even the most routine tasks can become holy. A teacher who teaches with love plants seeds of wisdom and hope in young hearts. A nurse who cares with love becomes a vessel of healing. A parent who disciplines with love shapes character and strength. The difference is not in the task itself, but in the spirit behind it. Love infuses every moment with meaning and every duty with dignity. Love also transforms the way we see people. It opens our eyes to the value of every soul, reminding us that no one is beyond grace. It moves us to look past flaws and failures to see potential and purpose. When love fills the heart, judgment fades and compassion grows. The person who once seemed difficult becomes an opportunity to practice patience. The one who hurt us becomes an opportunity to practice forgiveness. Love does not deny pain or injustice, but it chooses to rise above them, turning wounds into wisdom and bitterness into blessing. The purpose that love brings is not born of human ambition, it is divine in origin. Love aligns our hearts with God's mission, to bring light where there is darkness, hope where there is despair, and peace where there is conflict. When we allow love to guide our steps, we become part of something greater than ourselves. We begin to see how our everyday choices contribute to an eternal story. A smile to a stranger, a prayer for a friend, an act of mercy towards someone in need. These are not small things in the kingdom of God. They are the building blocks of purpose woven together by love. There are times when life feels repetitive or unrewarding, when we wonder if what we do truly matters. But love gives meaning even to the unnoticed. It teaches us that purpose is not found in recognition, but in faithfulness. Love is not measured by applause or acknowledgement, but by the quiet assurance that we are walking in step with God's heart. Each day lived in love becomes a masterpiece of divine intention, painted stroke by stroke in the ordinary moments of obedience. Love also changes the way we endure challenges. It strengthens our resolve when life grows hard and keeps us steady when disappointment threatens to break us. When love is our motivation, we can bear trials with grace because we understand that every act of perseverance is an act of love, love for God, for others, and even for the call upon our lives. Love sustains when strength runs out, reminding us that what we do not for reward, but for relationship. When love becomes the lens through which we see life, everything changes. Work becomes worship, service becomes joy, sacrifice becomes privilege. The ordinary transforms into extraordinary because love gives it purpose. A life motivated by love is not one that seeks greatness, but one that creates it, quietly, consistently, and faithfully, until every heartbeat and every breath become an offering of love to God and to others. When we choose love, we become instruments of healing in a broken world. Every day we are surrounded by pain, division, and disappointment. The world aches under the weight of anger, fear, and indifference. Hearts are wounded by betrayal, relationships are fractured by pride, and communities are torn apart by selfishness. Yet, in the midst of all this brokenness, love stands as the only force strong enough to restore what has been shattered. Love does not simply observe the pain of the world, it steps into it with compassion and courage. It moves toward the hurting, speaks life into despair, and brings light into the darkest corners of human experience. When we choose love, we allow ourselves to become vessels through which healing can flow. Love has the power to heal because it sees beyond the surface. It recognizes that every act of cruelty or bitterness often hides a deeper wound. Instead of meeting hurt with hurt, love meets it with mercy. Instead of responding to anger with anger, love offers understanding. When we choose love, we begin to see people not as enemies or obstacles, but as souls in need of grace. That shift in perspective changes everything. It softens our hearts, opens our hands, and allows us to respond not with resentment, but with restoration. Love refuses to add to the brokenness. It works to mend it. Healing through love is not always dramatic or immediate. Sometimes it happens slowly through the consistent kindness of one person who refuses to give up. It might look like forgiving someone who has never apologized or showing patience with someone who continually tests our limits. It could mean offering help without expecting recognition or choosing to speak gently when harsh words would be easier. These acts may seem small, but they carry immense power. Each one is a thread of healing woven into the fabric of a broken world. Love works quietly, but its effects are profound. It restores trust where suspicion once ruled, brings peace where conflict has lingered, and rebuilds bridges that bitterness has burned. When we choose love, we join God in His redemptive work. The love that heals is not born of human strength. It is the overflow of divine compassion working through willing hearts. God's love has always been a healing force, reaching into the depths of human suffering and lifting people out of despair. When we allow that same love to flow through us, we become extensions of His grace. Our words can soothe, our presence can comfort, and our actions can bring renewal to those around us. Love gives us the courage to enter the pain of others without fear of being consumed by it, because we know that perfect love drives out fear. Choosing love also brings healing to our own hearts. Bitterness, anger, and resentment wound us from within, but love frees us from their grip. When we forgive, when we extend compassion, when we choose to bless rather than curse, healing begins not only in those we love, but in ourselves. Love loosens the chains that bind us to past hurts and allows peace to take root where pain once lived. It transforms how we carry the weight of our experiences, teaching us that even in suffering, there is purpose when love is present. The world is not healed by more noise or conflict. It is healed by hearts willing to love when it makes no sense to do so. Love has a language that transcends every barrier, kindness that speaks louder than anger, gentleness that disarms hostility, and compassion that silences hatred. When we choose love, we become living answers to the cries of a weary world. Our lives begin to reflect a different way of being, a way marked not by judgment, but by mercy, not by selfishness, but by service. Love's healing power ripples outward. A single act of love can inspire another, and before long, what began as a quiet choice in one heart becomes a movement of renewal across many. That is how love works. It multiplies, heals, and restores beyond what we can measure. When we choose love, we carry hope into hopeless places. We remind the world that kindness still exists, that forgiveness is still possible, and that grace is still stronger than grief. Love turns pain into purpose and brokenness into beauty. When we live as instruments of love, we become part of God's healing plan, mending hearts, restoring peace, and reminding humanity that in the end, love never fails.